Hello. Welcome to the late night talks, or actually early morning talks with Romantic Developer, stream number 216. I need to check if my stream is going on by switching to my channel and verifying it's in on my phone, because what I see here, it shows the signal is going on. Okay, but I've seen multiple times that sometimes for some reason I still do some mistakes and it's not going on. So I feel much more comfortable when I see it in my phone and it's working with the sound. So I started my live chatbot and I've started my live transcriber. All the tools you can find on my YouTube AI helper repository for on GitHub. It's open open source, so you just can go and read it, everything you need. So I'm just passing a link to that in case everyone is interested in. And it's the same tools I use for take care of the channel. Basically, it's automatically after my stream ends, go in and listen to everything I talked, download video from YouTube, make audio, and make audio from it, and then transcribe audio, receive transcript, improve transcript, fixing all the issues, errors, and so on. It's create nice title, cool description, video chapters, keywords, and once it received all of that, it's go to YouTube and update. So if you look at YouTube and look at description of all my previous stream, look on video chapters, on titles, everything, it's all generated automatically. It's all updated automatically. I verify it not very often. So I fully rely on my AI helper. Also, as you see, it's live chatbot, which also can run, and it can not answer just basic question, not could answer just some natural questions which you can expect from any LLM like chatbots, but also it's aware about my channel, my current stream. It has real-time information about what I'm talking about. It has access to my previous streams, to my last stream full content, to my last 5 streams summaries. As well, it can know how to search for news for in generic space and AI space and much more. But yeah, it's taking its own decision if it need to reply to you or not. If it's taking own decision if it need to announce what you pass into the chat or not. And as you see right now, it decided to reply to my comments, but but truly not announce it on my stream. If I put another comment like "Hi everyone," it should announce it. I hopefully. And once it announced, we should listen.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, you saw it. Yeah, it's slightly eating some sounds at the end, but it's totally fine. I'll work out on that, but slightly later. Historically, we start some of our streams with discussing most recent AI news, and even my stream schedule right now is not pretty good. Because it's not like late night, it's early morning and so on. But hopefully it will be fixed sometime soon and we can do it. But right now, let's just try to use the same way how we ask about some news in our streams before. For that, let me switch to some different screen. Oh, my mouse, please come here. Okay. So we ask questions like, please do a research of all recent AI news on, please. Okay. Using Google News, OpenAI. It's Grammarly. And we want the very recent news. So let's ask after February 15. let's do it here, and let's do it on DeepSeek. Basically, they ask similar questions before, so I haven't started new chat, but normally it's, yeah, DeepSeek always find 50 results, but not of all those results actually are recent news. So you see some of the news are from January, some of the news probably would be last year. So yeah, it need to properly do some work of syncing and filter out what is relevant, what is not. The same thing with ChatGPT Autrimini High, but it doesn't show all the news sources right now. It just shows some way of how it's syncing, which is also cool, but it's of course not as detailed as DeepSeek. So, but anyway, it's pretty helpful to see insights on how it's syncing and so on and so on and so on. So who will be the first? I think the first will be Autrimini. It's already have some list of the news, and it's still syncing, and it's also still finalizing. And that one, what I do? Okay, it's still trying to sync. So of course, Autrimini High slightly faster, maybe because it's a mini model, but in multiple tests and results, you know, it's much more show better results than DeepSeek. And right now, Autrimini in API space cost maybe just less than twice as much as DeepSeek. And again, if you use DeepSeek from China website, of course, you will need to understand that it's not very stable. I think if you look on DeepSeek status, now it's much better, but you see there was a week when it was outage on API space. And today they don't have any downtime, and even it says no downtime on web chat service, sometimes it's still, I mean, you still couldn't receive an answers, especially on free plan. They don't have not free plan. So yeah, that's the issue. Okay, let's review our recent news. Sam Altman's ChatGPT headquarters, they changing the word. So some news from the Times, once reliable sources of news, not now. They did some interview, and they have ambitions to achieve AGI by 2030. Maybe it's already achieved, you know. AGI will change so much more than current AI models already changed the world, and we still couldn't eat, you know, and process everything current models can do with our world. And we just started, you know, all that startups, everything. In addition, with very cheap robots, I mean, it would shake world just upside down. Believe me, it's so huge. And you see, of course, there are a lot of rumors over the last year, but after some time, it just would be like an avalanche, you know, everything would be completely different. And people, of course, there are some people who don't believe there could be car which can go on electric charge for like several hundreds of miles in some remote parts of the world, of course. Like before, we have a lot of people who don't believe that Earth is go around the sun. They think maybe it's vice versa, like, you know, Copernic time. So just few hundred years ago, 300 years ago. But anyway, that change would be very hard to stop. Okay. He explains how autonomous AI agents are already handling day-to-day tasks, discusses the potential of widespread job displacement, and emphasizes the urgent need for robust regulatory frameworks. Of course, Altman's vision underscores the balance between rapid innovation and safety, and even aimed at growing geopolitical and financial pressures. So, of course, a lot of things will change, and autonomous AI agent, which our my chat in like the chat which we can see here, okay, on my channel, if you just go to that discussion, you see the chat, and you see the chatbot which basically working in one of my window. Okay, it's my real-time transcription here. So And you see it has some logic where it says that if it's message say for streamer, it's a yes, and it's send it to speech service to create its audio, and then it just play it to me. Also, it trying to see if it's a filtered message, if we need to skip that message to answer, it say okay, which means we shouldn't, and we should generate response. It go to completion and generate response from chatbot. And then it just send it to YouTube. So it's making all its own choices for each message here. So it's basically AI agent because it's executing without us. Even I can go right now somewhere and we can continue conversation with it, and it will could perfectly handle that, I hope. So yeah, we all do all the most recent things here on the streams. Yeah, everything of it I'm sharing you built during those streams. Of course, it's a lot to watch, but yeah, hopefully I can do some shorter videos how we built all of those. If AI ask me a question, please send me a comment if you want this. I wouldn't do that because I want it. I don't need it. If you need it, please ask me. I'll do that. The insightful piece from Guardian. Okay, AI round heads go war with tech royalty. Don't bet against them. It speeds the ambition pursuit of AGI by AI cavaliers against the more focused, efficiently driven strategy of AI round heads. The article argues that while massive capital expenditures by tech giants fuel the AGI race, a pragmatic focus on solving specific high-value problems may yield more stable and profitable outcomes for industry. You know, it's the same. So let's return 3 years back. We have exactly that. We have a pragmatic focus on solving specific high-value problems. You know, if you look and let's see on Azure. Let's look on cognitive services that has very specific tasks. They have in cognitive service like health cognitive service, and they can do some, and basic cognitive services can do some sentiment analysis. So they could say with tone and emotion which some text was said. And now after we develop LLMs, they can do it at fraction of cost, but much better, much better. Even some free DeepSeek one which could execute on your local computer will do the task much better than very specialized model, but from the past, from 2 years back. And of course, right now we could stop, and what we have, we can fine tune our LLM models to resolve very specific solving high value problems, etc., or we can invest into AGI, which will do everything of that at fraction of cost, it's fraction of time, is with much higher quality and success rate. It's of course it has all of that. GPT-4 is the best search product on the web. You know, it's interesting. As you see here, when I ask a question like, what is the holidays today in the world? Of course, and right now it just so installed ChatGPT plugin, which basically every question will be routed back to ChatGPT, and it's do pretty cool thing. But from other side, if I'll ask the same question just in Google, so let's search Google and let's, okay. So it also will have that brand or bread. What is AI overview? So they said there are no major international holidays, and it shows some websites and so on, and some links. ChatGPT, of course, it's provide much more interesting answers, but the thing is that it doesn't provide some relevant search just in case it do it wrong. So it thinks it's always do right. And for that question, of course, it's do much better than Google. See, than Google. It says no major recognized holidays. However, depending on the regions, they might be smaller, And I want exactly that. I want smaller, and it says international. International C-Rank Day, World Whale Day, Kyoto Protocol Day, and so on. National observance and culture and fun observance, and so on. Of course, it's provided some sources, but it's not like in Google when you can go up to 100 page results. So I'm still not sure if I like it more or Google. In many cases, I don't switch to Google, but sometimes I switch. But you know, in many cases, yeah, I don't switch to Google in that browser. On my work machine, I still have Google search by default, actually Bing search by default, because it's much better for my work. Okay, Apple aims to bring AI features and spatial content app to Vision Pro. Good luck with that. Actually, Vision Pro headset is a good idea, but it's too complex, it's too pricey, it's too big, and so on. So if they develop something much smaller, like glasses, maybe it would cost it, or maybe it would be a nice idea. But right now, bring more into the Visual Pro headset. Let's just say Visual Pro headset. Of course, ChatGPT will handle it, but maybe it will show some images. No? Yes. So you see, it's pretty big, and maybe it's not ugly, but if you're trying to walk like somewhere in the on the streets with that, it looks strange. Yes, maybe home it's fine, but not everywhere. So if you try to talk to some people with that on your head, probably it wouldn't be, you know, it wouldn't be as nice as some just glasses. So, but I mean, okay. So someone with Baidu launch DeepSeek search testing, and it's strategic. Chinese tech giants to began beta testing of DeepSeek AI search integration. And this effort highlight how Chinese companies are innovating around chip exports restrictions by developing more efficient, resource-friendly AI solutions. Yeah, we all know that the nice thing that US companies also lowering their cost a lot. We reviewed that, and we saw that just recently on my recent stream, where we compare the values of API cost for multiple models, including of course ChatGPT, including DeepSeek. DeepSeek, of course, on DeepSeek servers, not on your local, and price of Cloud latest models, and Google Gemini, if I'm not mistaken. And GPT doing pretty well from all the companies with their lowest prices on Autrimini models, which are very capable and cost less than 2 times more than DeepSeek models. And DeepSeek models, we already know that it's on Chinese servers. Of course, you can install on your local server and pay just for your local server execution time, but it would be as small as just exact call to API infrastructure. Okay, so it's all debatable questions. If we're talking about small companies that they need occasionally send API requests, having own server which could host full DeepSeek R1 model will cost something. Will cost much more than doing occasional requests to API. And in that case, of course, ChatGPT would be better, and again, it will not cross boundaries of United States, and you can even develop some products which would be approved by some agencies or so. So yeah, there are a lot of questions with that models, and it's very good that they actually making them cheaper and cheaper. So what about DeepSeek news for this day? And they said, okay, bid was rejected. We already know that. Anthropic Cloud model update, hybrid reasoning engine. You know, it sounds like very old, even it's from 1215. But yeah, we already know that Anthropic working on it. Saudi Arabia invest $1.5 billion in Grok AI chips. What is Grok AI chips? It's some chips from which? From Elon Musk Grok? Okay, it's some news. Adobe launches Fire. By the way, that Adobe Firefly video, I saw that you know, I saw some videos from it, and I'm not sure if it's here, but yeah, let's see. It's really cool. So of course, Sora is also very cool, and normally, if you're talking about Adobe, if you talk about Adobe image generation, so Firefly for images, I like, for example, I like Midjourney much more. Midjourney creates just more stunning images with comparing to Adobe Firefly, even version 3. Version 2 is available in Adobe Express. Even free plans, you have some credits for that, but I have access to version 3, and that's in at least in their in their ads, it looks so cool, so stunning. So of course making images, yes, but let's see how it's do something like videos and videos, text to video. I probably will switch the sound off because maybe they said, okay, I don't have rights for that sound. And open in Photoshop Web, okay. Commercially safe, okay. Okay, it's not that video I seen from them. I saw some video which they tried just to use something to generate, and it was really cool. Maybe we need to review it once again. So, and what's about that Anthropic? No. Okay, Grok. And Grok. Okay, founded by Jonathan Ross, Grok emerged from stealth in 2016 to create called LPU, language processing unit interface. The company claims LPU can run existing generative AI models similar to in the architecture to open ChatGPT and ChatGPT-4 in 10 times the speed of one touch the energy. The NQ vertical integrated Grok AI interface platform. Okay, it's not connected to Elon Musk, but it's really next generation chipset, which developed specially for AI. Probably they have all of that thing, like matrix multiplication in them. So maybe yeah. Let's see. Europe unveils 200 billion AI investment plan. So to boost AI infrastructure, including gigafactories and workforce training that aims to reduce reliance on foreign supply chains and position Europe as a global AI hub. Nice. If they do it, it's nice. Even, we talk a lot about how Europe actually working and how much they are trying to enforce all the rules, all the regulations, etc., which basically would only slow down the AI development in Europe rather than speed it up. Such investments is pretty big, but knowing Europe, okay, 5 years ago I thought that Europe not as corrupt country as post-Soviet countries like Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Armenia, and so on, Moldova. But in the last years, I believe my point in that changed completely. I see how corrupt Europe is. They, of course, don't call it. So they call it, they do it vice versa, like in Orwell, 1984. So they do everything vice versa. If they prohibit some news sources, they call it freedom of speech. If they, for example, let a lot of people in, so a lot of immigrants paying them a lot of money, never send them back, even they do very big crimes, it's called, care of own people, and so on. So, and there are very huge amount of money was spent on vaccines from COVID, and some vaccines were destroyed, and it's about loss. We're talking about losses in we talk about losses at least about 5 to 10 billions of dollars, just losses from some not proper vaccination supplies, contracts. And it was even some court about it, but then they were dismissed and say, okay, everything is good. So they are very corrupt. Let's hope it wouldn't touch that AI too much, and they could benefit from those money into the development of AI things. Before, Europe was part of some space projects and some innovative projects, of course, and I was really happy to hear some news from Europe. But the more time comes, I see that they looking into wrong things now. They invest money into wrong things. At least, yeah. Humanoid robots for smart homes. Nice. We need really cheap robots, and then 90% of humanity will be not needed anymore. Or maybe they will be needed, but where they will work. Cheap robots will just replace most of them. So, of course, nice if Apple explores this. If not Apple, someone else will explore this. So really we need to face the problems for people with robots sometime soon. VO2 for YouTube Shorts. Model now integrates with YouTube Shorts, enable creators to generate high-quality videos directly in the platform. This update enhances creativity tool for competing with TikTok, Instagram Reels, emphasizing real-time editing and immersive content. Oh, really, February 15. And again, some news, probably the same news. And do they said it's YouTube official blog created where it is coming to YouTube Shorts. And does it mean we need to? Yeah, for sure. No. And dog will become with muscles? Oh, really? Okay. Maybe. I mean, so so another framework for video generation. So if you have any subscription like for Sora and for Adobe, probably don't need to buy it from Google unless they provide it for free. Unless they provide it for free, because I mean they all are very similar. We need to see, of course, but of course the DeepSeek faced GDPR. It just was question of seconds. So I hope Europe will just prohibit any use of DeepSeek in Europe, and it would be another nice decision from Europe. Of course, GDPR violation, because they not store the chats in the Europe, because they don't allow DeepSeek to store the chat in the Europe. Hopefully, they will prohibit it. Model goes public beta, so Firefly video model now in public beta. IP-safe video generation for commercial use, enabling text-to-video workflows. Features include resolution, integration with Premiere Pro, targeting agencies like AI, social media impact criticized. So TikTok and Meta for AI-driven engagement over meaningful content. Of course. But you know, if people choose to look AI-generated content, why not? Okay, Apple and Alibaba partnership in China. We already know that. What else can Meta do? Because they couldn't. They need. Apple. They need to partner with OpenAI probably in the United States and with Alibaba for China if they want to sell their phones in both parts of the sword. Okay. Now let's try to execute our Docker. And let's try to execute my Docker desktop and try to do some small task for video application for my thing today. Okay, so first we need to execute Redis. Okay, and then we need to execute our DB. Oh, probably we just need to close all of those. Command prompt. It would be DB. It would be, so Redis is executing, DB is executing. Next thing would be our worker. No, next thing would be our API web. And let's execute another one. And that one would be our Celery. And I believe another Celery we need just for what? We need it for, let's remember, it's not here. Run Celery. We have open it somewhere here. It's called Flower. Let's call it run as Celery. Flower locally. Nice, it even specifies the port. So let's remove that. Let's have that and see if it will work. And that Celery, it says that Docker is not okay. Redis is working fine. Port 6379. Okay, let's close those. We figured out that recently. So let's try to execute it once again. So let's see once again this one. We have our dashboard. All the files are here. If we can click, we see all the input files. We can add new files. Yes. Yes. We have our channels, our configuration, everything. So AI is working fine. We just need to make sure that Redis will work with our servers. For some reason, I don't see Redis is working. Let me just execute another command prompt, and here we'll try to run and again Redis. So it says ready to accept connection, TCP. So Celery, let's try. Worker. Cannot connect to Redis localhost. Actively refusing it. Yes, for some reason Redis doesn't work. So it's what I see. I have Redis here. And right now I could start it from here. So let's try to execute Celery once again. But once I execute Redis from here, just create some service outside it. Okay. Now it's working fine. It's trying to download some video somewhere, and that is also working fine. So now if I go to my flower here, it says it's have with some task, some workers, some broker, and that, oh really? No, you don't need documentation. So broker, Celery. I don't have any way to do something with it. So here it's just trying to download some video in full, which is pretty big, and I don't have any way to say please stop it. Yeah. Unknown worker tasks brokers. Okay. So okay, we decided first to go with our tasks, and so to review probably we don't need anymore. So let's go step by step now. First step would be just Python and gather files. Let's copy all of those and go to our ChatGPT and says, hello, we want to upload file from our computer, and it would be all files output. Hello, I'm adding all my recent code here. Please generate. I believe here we should have some chat for the code. No. Looks like I've lost it. Okay. Please generate a code to support creating a task in the database which would be connected to file input, input file object. It can have multiple tasks. Tasks could be of different types, like download YouTube file, download external file, create an audio file from downloaded file, transcribe a file, improve transcription, execute prompt, and so on. Maybe some generic task. Also, for preserving all the files connected to file input file, please create a new class table to store all the files for input file. Files, input file, how we call it? Not description, input file, parts, no. Artifacts. It should be connected to input file, have its name, type, main video, audio, converted audio, transcript, improved transcript, prompt result, version, pass. Please integrate it with the existing code and please return me all code parts fully implemented. So let's compare this and let's try maybe some more advanced like this code, and let's try to do the same thing with ChatGPT 01 Pro, and let's compare. We always comparing those models, at least trying to compare those models here. So it's do some reasoning, of course. It's trying to generate some code, and it's GPT-1 Pro. Let's go to the end. It's also doing something here. So we compare how it generate both tasks very soon. Okay, that is already create. We add new task model and new input file artifact model. We then add two new FastAPI routers. It then points to create and list tasks and artifacts for the input file. Finally, we update your main FastAPI app to include the new routers below full code parts. Model, user config prompt, config parameter, input file, and channel and task input file. Do we have in input file? Here we have tasks and artifacts. Nice. And artifact type Unicode 50 version created at input file. Tasks, it's our tasks. Create task. Input file query. Add new commit, refresh, return. List task for input file. Tasks. Artifacts. Create artifact. List artifact for the input file. Main. And in main we just added two routers like tasks and where is that? Yeah, that one to edit. Usage example. Of course. So let's say that it's added exactly what we needed. It didn't add all them. It didn't add any UI for that, but it's added some API endpoints. And O1 Pro still syncing. Hopefully it will do much better. What if I don't want user to create tasks or artifacts, but I'll do it from the code, and I want to show full tasks and artifacts on the input file page with ability to create some tasks but show both lists on this page. So let's see what it will do. It should change some routers and maybe even remove some routers, like for artifact files. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, then your input details page, you can query both the associate task and artifact and display them together. Model, modify endpoint and input files. View input file. We can return input files and artifacts and tasks. Query. Example here. Task section. And new task form right here. It just do some select, submit, and so on. Okay, we can work with that. Oh, really? O1 Pro, please. I know that you are very professional, but let's give us an answer. Let's compare the answers. Another question. Can I create multiple task in Celery, but it will pick them up with specific order. Let's say they have dependencies between each other. Is it possible to do simply, or I need to create a task from other to keep dependencies? So because we are completely new to Celery and all that stuff, we just want to see how we can implement it. So dependency chain, in other words, you simply enqueue multiple tasks and run concurrently or in any order. So we have some Celery canvas primitives. You can use chain primitive to link tasks together so that output of one task can be passed to the next. Other primitives like charts or groups can also help in orchestrating more complex workflows. Trigger task within tasks. Alternatively, you can design your task so that one finishes it explicitly triggers the next task. This is useful if the dependency isn't strictly linear or you need additional runtime logic. Result chain task arc, task B, task C. In this example, task run first, then task B only complete successfully, and finally task C after task B. Okay. Let's refresh that page. Maybe it's already responded and we just don't see the... Oh, really? Looks like we are still waiting. Looks like we are still waiting. I don't understand that, progress line because it was pretty full before we refresh. Oh, so it's good we haven't executed deep research. It will do much longer. But again, for our task, of course, it's not needed because we don't need to do any deep research. You just need to do some coding. Okay. Hmm. Okay. You know what? Probably I don't think it would be a huge changes from what we've seen. So let's try to do these two classes and let's try to implement that. So first in our logic, no, it's our core models. We need to add these two new classes. So import input file artifacts, and of course tasks. And in input files, we just need to go and copy those two relationships, task and artifacts. User, task, artifacts. Looks good. Now so routers, probably we will not add them at the moment. Let's try to go to our view endpoint file and just add those artifacts. So it would be our routers, and we look on input files, and we just look, not create, but we look on view input file. Yes. So it will have task and artifacts. Database. DB query. Input file. Okay, and task it understand what is it. No. Let's see. Login. Config, downloader. Okay, here. And just add task, input file, artifact. Okay. So now it should go away. Yes. Okay. And we just return template, and let's just move to the new line. Input file, request input file, task and artifacts. Okay. And then here in view, let's see what we have in our views. Prompts. It templates. Okay. Input files. View. Okay, view. We have created on div, and before that cart container. Okay, before end of the container, we just include task section and artifact section. Back to input files. Okay, let's see. That thing looks like restarted. Celery is fine. It's downloading. Task succeed. That one is also fine. So let's see what we have. Let's look here. Workers 0, broker Celery, and worker still unknown. Really? It's interesting. And now it's not empty. how it's working. Okay. And we have the Celery queue. We have tasks, download video, limits, configs, system and other. Restart pull, shutdown. Now we have full picture. We have new picture. 2 times process the task. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So now we just can go to some input file, probably on the first one. View. Internal server error. And why so? It says that what couldn't be prepared. Statement invalid column updated at. Invalid column task type. And it's happened on and it's happened in, of course, somewhere in context. I don't see our code only side packages in that list. It's pretty huge, but it's fine. So what we can do, we just will stop it, and we will restart it. It's basically should on the restart, it should see if all the schemas is up to date. And now we just could refresh it, and it's still server invalid column input file ID. Invalid column input file ID. Really? Invalid column result task type. So let's see what's going on. We have model, and let's say we have input file ID. It's in the tasks. Input files ID, input files ID. And that is our input files. Okay. You know what? You know what? Let's I believe I should have something like SQL database. Some management studio. No, not management studio. Give me 1 second. Resume. Interesting. Maybe it's here. Okay, Azure Data Studio. I believe maybe someday I created database task, but then it's not used anymore. Let's try to connect to our local host server, which basically hosted in our Docker. And we will review that issue. Okay, we connected. if look at database and we see that in tables we have something like table tasks. Okay, yes, it's surely one of the previous table design. Is it possible to drop script as drop? And let's execute it. Cool. And now if you go to table and click refresh, there are no tasks. And we just stop it and restart it, and it should create proper task. Okay, looks better. If I refresh task and it have better columns than, so something we expect. Whew. We get it right. Now we can see that. So we have input file details, task for this input file, create new task. Download YouTube file, transcribe file, improve transcription, execute prompt. Nice. And basically we can manage those lists based on what we need to do. So of course when we do upload the file, probably we can say like generate all the tasks and like maybe something like automatic task generation or something which will be enabled by default. And then once we don't upload it, we identify next task and then we execute the task. And each task, if it's have for file input file which has the generate task by default, it calls some our router, task router, and it will generate next task or next group of tasks. But we at each moment probably want to have ability to generate task ourselves, or like additional task. Maybe we want to generate multiple prompts, something like that. Okay, let's see if our O1 can provide us any response. Really? GPT-O1, hello, please. Oh, actually now we have the response. Below a fully integrated example, add two new database tables, input file task, input file artifacts for storing. Define relationship back in input file, add new FastAPI routers, creation, list, and deletion of the task and artifacts, demonstrate how to wire them into your existing code and templates. Model spy updates, add two new classes, input file. For clarity, we snippet below show only the changed added parts, it's fine. So, and here we add task and artifacts, and this new. So task type is 100 status. Oh, it's nice. It has status and details. Task type, status, details, created, updated, input file. Let's see what we have here. Models. So, okay. We have task, input file ID, foreign key, input file, nullable false, integer, primary key, index true. Okay, task type. Unicode 150, Unicode 100. Let's make it 100. Status also pending. Nice results. Detail. Let's also add detail. I like results and detail together, created on, updated on. Yes, input file. But maybe input file task, it sounds slightly better. And what is populated tasks? Okay. And we call it input file task. Let's try to rename it like this. Oh, really? Something going wrong with the application. Input file tasks. And let's fix it right in this code. It would be tasks, input file tasks, input file, and here we have input file. Okay. And let's see input file artifacts. Input file ID, name, artifact type, version, pass, version. I like column integer actually better. Default one. Name, Unicode 202. Yeah, let's do that. Type. Let's make like that. Artifact type. Version. Okay, pass. I like that 12. Oh, because nullable false. Created at, why not add updated at as well? Input file, okay. Config. Database migration, table creation. Okay, routes for task and artifacts. Routers, list tasks. List task for input file. Nice. And new task form. It just return in code. Okay, create task for input file. Okay, delete task. Okay. Above we use minimal inline HTML for demonstration. In real app you'd like to use templates. The key is how we do to ensure input belongs to current user. Similarly, when deleting or updating task, we join input file to ensure the user ID matches the current user. You know, it's much more complicated things comparing to what it done before. So you see, it just add, it get current user, and it says that file ID. So it's input file and get first, and if we don't have input file belonging to current user, it says input file not found, so you not own it, so you couldn't remove any task associated with that. It's cool. And artifacts, probably it would be the very similar things here. And delete artifacts. Okay, include the routers in main. New routers. Okay, and that add new routers in input files. You receive two ways, optional templates. And then in router, replace your HTML response with template response, for example, here. Then in input task list, it would be that lists, verification and summary. So the only thing we've changed so far, it was input file tasks. So in our artifact, no, in our input file or router, we just want to say it is input file task, and here it would be input file task, query input file task equals tasks and tasks, and in template here in template here, in input file template, view. Let's see about view input file. Oh, really? It says that config in model line 68. Let's see. Input file, okay. Config backpopulate parameters. User input file, input file, input file. Channels input file, okay. Tasks. Okay, that's in his. Why it couldn't come? Can it parse 68? 60 class input file base. At line 68, line 68. I don't see any input files. What it couldn't do? 83 prompts equals relationship. Paste the prompts. User, task, artifacts. Prompts relate to config. Prompts, relationship prompt. Nice. And here, still nice. I don't see any issues here. Do you see that? Backpopulate prompts. What it says? Models cannot parse line 68. Prompts equals relationship. Matters. Relationship. Config parameter. Backpopulate config. Oh, config parameter. Relationship prompts. Backpopulate config. It should be in config. Prompts. Relationship. Config parameters. Backpopulate config. And it's for some reason doesn't see that. Let me just once again try to stop that. Okay. Startup complete. Looks like it's some small issue. Let's try to refresh it. Okay, now we see that internal server error, and it's because invalid column artifact type updated at invalid column name updated at. So let's see, it's in our somewhere, should be somewhere here. So when we do input file, we just get basically everything: input file task, get all, and artifacts also. Most probably it would be happen on this only on our view. And here we say it's all about input file, and then we look tasks, type, status, result, task ID, task type, So let's see, models, tasks, input file tasks, task in task, task type, exist, task status, exist, task result, exist, created at, exist. And for post, task create, option, form control task type, submit. Okay, and then it would be artifacts, and we show artifacts ID, name, type. Okay, it would be artifact type, version. Okay, pass, created at. Okay, we save it. Will it restart it? Let's just stop it. Is it possible to stop? Control C. Control C. Oh, it docks. No. We want our full interface. We want view, internal server error. Okay. And it's because artifact type invalid column. I don't want to restart, to remove all the database right now. Let's see Docker. Read me how to start our web app. Okay, looks like it's tried to set the schema or update the schema. Let's really quickly see about our input file artifacts. And column, input file ID, name, type. Okay, maybe it couldn't do it itself. Let's remove it. Also, we don't need task. Script test drop, run. So now let's refresh what the tables we have here. Input file tasks. Okay, for input type artifacts, let's probably just restart it. And let's refresh our tables. Okay, and artifacts now has everything in artifact type. Now it should be put. Correct? Now go to view the task. Okay. Detail not found. Task create. Of course it's not found because we haven't add that. We haven't had that API router yet. But if we just decide on our database level, go and create something like input file task. Let's edit data. And we call it, okay, input file ID, task type, download, YouTube, status pending, details, no details, result, no details, created at, defaulted. By the way, created and updated at should be automatically set. Oh, it's not set on the database level, it's set on the code level, okay? Anyway, now it should show something. Okay, and still we have another task for our current status file and everything. Okay, the next thing would be to ask our ChatGPT what would be the best place to put a code to create a new tasks in input file router, because of course new tasks are connected with input files. Hopefully ChatGPT will not call me blonde for writing such questions, but with capital text and with some multiple mistakes. And I don't want to ask O1 Pro, even it's provide very cool results, but it will take about 10 minutes to answer, we already know. Maybe it's because right now ChatGPT servers are busy, but I believe it's pretty simple task. It based to mix task creation logic directly inside the input file router instead. Not to mix. Instead, you can expose a dedicated endpoint for task creation, or even nest it under the input file resource and delegate the actual business logic to a service layer. This way, you get the benefits of separation of concerns, either testing and reusability. For example, if tasks are always connected to a specific input file, we might design nested endpoint like this. The endpoint which you can implement in a dedicated task router would accept the necessary task details and use helper server to create. Can you provide me a code for everything as well? What if I want to limit user created task to some simple interface and have ability to create much more detailed tasks from the code? So will it guide us how to create good architecture in that case? Oh, I have so many messages. So, dedicated nested endpoint for user create task under input file. A helper service function to create more detailed task programmatically from code. Integration in your main. Assume we already include task model. File. Input file task. AP router. What is that? It's router tasks. Create task service. Okay, they just call it service. It's just a normal function. And it has all the input parameters. And then they have something marked as router post tasks and limited user created task. Created detailed task. It's also literally from your code. Create detailed task. Okay, and service is basically creating new task, and it will call create task service, and that will also create task service. Extra params. Detailed job. Extra params dict. Detail. The additional details Jones. Okay, manual false. Return task. And we ensure that user authenticated. Okay. So input file, filter user ID, file ID first. Okay, ensure user may adjust this as needed. I don't see any user authentication here, basically. You're just looking for file ID and that's it. Task artifacts return, and here we show task for input file, everything, and then we have some form which go to task, input files, input file ID task. Okay, execute prompt and artifacts without any changes. Okay, so they basically define task service on the task router. Let's ask, is it a good practice to define a task service on the level of a task router? Rather in the router, this approach keeps your route handlers thin, improves maintainability. For example, you might create a dedicated task service model that contains functions to creating tasks, both simple, then have your task router endpoint call the service functions. Here is a brief illustration. App services, task service. Okay, create tasks, session, db session, and that it. And in tasks, routers, we just use create task from the task service. Okay, yeah, that's what I want to know, because again, all that solution sounds strange, and now it has more or less sense. So it has more or less sense now. Okay, you know what? I also try my luck with ChatGPT 01 Pro with that task as well. And yeah, I'll try to update this code and showcase it on my next stream, or maybe after one stream, because today is, what the day is today? Today is Sunday, so maybe I'll do shorter stream this evening, and starting Monday, even it's a holiday in the United States, I try to already execute something. So some task and some implementation, like download task, download from YouTube, and probably something like convert into something. And of course, if you want to implement something like transcribe, we need our AI client. But for AI client, we need to create all the options. So maybe the two tasks which can download something and transcribe something. And of course, for task, probably we need also some parameters, but I believe it would be handled by what we have in the task mode, which called is models, which called is as detail. Hopefully we can put here as a lot of text, which will have something like JSON or something. Yeah, with all the additional parameters. Details or parameters, I think details is good enough. Because even while transcribing, not transcribing, yeah, while transcribing the file, of course, we want to add some specific parameters. And when we execute something, we also want to add some parameters like configuration of our LLM, like temperature, like for transcribing, usually it would be language, maybe some initial prompt, and so on and so on. So, of course, it should go from our default parameters, but maybe we want them to adjust. We also should have that ability. Okay, I believe that would be it for today's stream. Oh, so let me switch to my main camera and yeah, at the end share a few of my thoughts. So of course, let me check my chatbot. Yeah, looks like everything is working and pretty decent. Yeah, let me show what I mean just to check. It's my transcription. It's my whole transcription from today's stream, live transcription. And somewhere where I said, I think there is some shadowy bite to it. It just used so much here. Okay. Overall, it's yeah. Overall, it's normal, and chatbot looks like also active. So okay. About all this stuff about AI and everything, of course, nobody will replace human in the nearest term. But as we see, the more and more effort is going on to just. So they're not saying help people to do their work. We already have something like copilots and like Google search, whatever, as all these LLMs. Of course, they could go in a work like copiloting a user, or they can go in a way like replacing the user. And we see a lot of AI agents, and AI agents it's basically replace human. We see a lot of effort going into there, and yeah, it's what's going on next. But again, it couldn't replace any human. It could replace only human which do only some simple work or some straightforward work without soul, without imagination, without going over the boundaries. So of course, if we want to keep our jobs, we need to do all of those. We need to learn. We need to be not afraid to look over the boundaries, because I mean, I try to talk with our LLMs about some problems which right now I believe they don't have a not true scientific. And you know, it's tough. You like ask, hey, it could be any topic. I tried, you know, some like water memory. I tried anti-gravitation, etc. And say, oh no, it's not possible. It's not proven. It's not scientifically good. And of course, you can trick it to still think about it, but I mean, it's always go to some stop borders, because it just not designed to think something which people not agree that it's possible. So it's very hardly to go into that areas. Of course, you can use it to help with some calculation and everything, but it will not go and discover some undiscovered instead of you. So yeah, that's why we need to keep developing ourselves and be not only curious, not only open our mind for all the new, but also listen very carefully to our inner selves, because we holding so much more information that we probably know. So yeah, and maybe it sounds quite spiritual, but it's true. It's not, there are so many hidden things from us, including us ourselves. It's good if we will discover things around us, including ourselves. So don't be afraid to go into yourself and discover yourself here as well. Listen to some signals in your, which of course would be translated to you by your mind. And of course, I'm not talking about some illnesses. I'm talking about some normal stuff. Sometimes you can feel something, you can hear your thoughts and see some pictures, etc., etc. It's like your inner computer try to talk to you. So listen to it and let's try to work with it, and it will help us become on the top of any LLMs in the nearest time. But who knows what will we face when AGI will come true. So good luck. See you later. And I think that it. I need to log off some messaging devices. It creates so much noise. Sorry for that. Oh, I can do like that. Okay. So have a good day. Goodbye, and see you.